If you are interested in learning for the next 30 minutes some of the best marketing tactics from one of the best real estate trainers in the world, you are in for a really, really good episode today. I have my really good friend, Brent Daniels, Mr. TTP, on the show today. And we talk about a whole lot of things, but there are some really, really core principles when it comes to marketing for real estate investors that every single person should know. And I don't care if you're into wholesaling or if you're buy and hold, multifamily, whatever it is, there's 4 principles that Brent teaches on the show, 4 phases of marketing that honestly, I've never heard them broken down quite simply like this and with as much instruction and detail as possible. I even mentioned on the show that Brent is one of the most instructional trainers in real estate that I've ever seen before. Good friend of mine, but I mean, obviously, like if you guys are into real estate education in some way, shape, or form, chances are you've heard of Brent, you've heard of Wholesaling Inc., has an amazing podcast, which I happened to be featured on about a month and a half ago or so from listening to this podcast. But it was a lot of fun, and Brent runs a really, really good show, so make sure to go check that out if you haven't already. But one of the main things that we talk about today is inbound versus outbound marketing. I believe we start with that topic and how important it is to understand the differences between the two, because to have a well-balanced and well-rounded marketing function business, you have to have a good set of inbound marketing and outbound marketing. Some of the differences would be, inbound marketing would be, referrals. It would be PPC and SEO and that sort of stuff. But outbound marketing might be a lot more like cold calling or text blasting. And there's really a good balance that you have to strike between the two in order to run a successful machine on your marketing, and kind of entering a day and age where cold calling is kind of starting to get a lot of tight regulations on it. Text blasting is going away. Ringless voicemails have not really been a thing for quite some time now. So you've got to make sure you have a good balance of both of those. And we talk about that really heavily on the podcast. And then one of the last things we really go into is the importance of quick responses to your leads that are coming through those inbound marketing channels, because they're shopping at that point. They're motivated. And we really, I think a lot of real estate investors miss the mark when it comes to this kind of thing. And Brent, being the type of person he is when it comes to TTP, which stands for talking to people, then you've really got to talk to people. It's exactly what he preaches. And so it's going to be a great show. This is honestly one of my favorite episodes I've ever hosted before. Lots of energy, lots of really, really great tactical instructions that come in this episode. Really could be turned into a course. So you guys hang on tight. I'm going to introduce to you my really good friend, Brent Daniels, Mr. TTP himself with Wholesaling Inc. You guys enjoy. Welcome back to the REI Marketing Weekly. Josh Culler here, and I've got an exciting episode for you today. My good friend, Brent Daniels. Brent, you pumped? You ready to go?
Let's go. I am telling you, I love the show. I love the podcast. Really excited to be on here. Let's help people get some deals today. You know,
dude, I'm super excited.
Let's give some instruction. Let's give some what's working in this market right now. And hopefully people can just plug this in and go out and find a deal this week. So
yeah, for sure. One of the biggest reasons why I'm excited to have you on the show is just from knowing you personally and also the content you're putting out. You are one of the best. There's an endless amount of, I won't get started on this, but there's an endless amount of influencers out there putting content out on a daily basis, teaching people how to invest in real estate, get leads, all that kind of thing. But for those of you who are listening, my guess is that you probably are already familiar with Brent. If you're not, make sure you do follow him on all his platforms, which we'll have linked in the show notes below. But Brent has a very unique gift to be able to kind of lay out step-by-step instructions for you, and no matter what he's teaching. And we're going to go deep into a really good topic today about inbound and outbound marketing and the differences between the two. So make sure you listen up, pay attention. Brent, before we hopped on here, we were talking about the differences between inbound and outbound marketing. Yes. I've been able to do a little bit of both in the now going on 13 years that I've been in the real estate investing business, seen a lot of different market cycles, a lot of different marketing tactics as you have. The differences between the two, I want to go into that, but you also talked about there's kind of 4 phases that you put people through, or you put your own marketing through when it comes to the differences and the making or breaking between the, because a lot of people are familiar with one or the other, but not both, and not how to bring them together and mesh them together to create this ultimate marketing machine to generate leads. So let's hop on into it. So first question would just be, identify the differences between inbound and outbound marketing if somebody is not familiar with those differences.
Love it. Love it. So I think we all start out typically with low budgets. And so we're just trading our time and efforts for opportunities, right? We're just building up a pipeline of opportunities or leads, if you want to call it that, through being proactive every day, reaching out to either property owners or the people that represent property owners like real estate agents or other investors. And we're just trying to have quality conversations with them and see if we can buy their properties. And that's really how we get started, right? So you mentioned the 4 phases. The first phase is go from faith to fact, right? When we start out, we've got all the faith in the world that we could go and find an amazing deal. But until we close that deal or at least make a single dollar from our efforts in real estate, we're living off of faith. But then we get to fact, right? We cross that bridge to fact and our brain changes. We know that we can do this. And then it's just rinse and repeat. And then we get into phase 2, which is consistency. This is where, we can get enough income coming in to walk into our boss's office and say, thank you for the opportunity, but my real estate business is taken off and I'm going to go full-time doing this for myself. You fire your boss essentially, and you go full-time into this business because you're getting enough cash flow to live a good life and replace your current income. Then comes stage 3. And this is where people fall into the quicksand. Josh, this is where 80 to 90% of real estate entrepreneurs backslide into being back into self-employed because we all think we're geniuses. We all think, oh my gosh, like it's going to be everything I do turns to gold, and I'm going to just start replacing myself in the business with other people. And I'm going to start doing different marketing. I'm going to start spending money on direct mail or TV or radio or pay-per-click or paper leads or some of these that are...
Or all of it.
that are more inbound. Because when we start out, we're doing outbound. We're being super proactive. When we get to this third phase, we start getting reactive because we want to have more quality in our life. We want to have more quality in our business. And we want people that are ready to sell now to come into, our world. And that's where people really make a huge mistake because we're so programmed with these outbound leads that typically take 70 days of follow-up and take 30 days to close. Yeah. So we're a little bit slower. We're not responding as fast. We're not, really, we don't have the discipline to be working on now the customer schedule as opposed to our schedule. Yeah. So I think this is the biggest difference, just to kind of put a bow on this, Josh. When we are outbound, we control our schedule. We control when we're having the conversations with the property owner. When we transition to inbound, we need to be available, or somebody on our team needs to be available to answer every single call live. If you have a call that comes in from pay-per-click or paper lead, and it's like a text message that you get 30 seconds to respond. Yeah. 30 seconds or they're gone. I mean, the percentages of getting them on the phone, if you don't get them in the first 30 seconds, maybe 60 seconds, but I want to say 30 for the audience so that they're really diligent about it. But in our business, we've seen a huge impact when we respond immediately. Now, listen, there's going to be some leads that come in the middle of the night and that type of thing that's different. But for the most part, we've got it covered from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. on my team, Monday through Sunday.
Can I pause you for a second, Brent? Because I think this is extremely important. We do a lot of, that type of marketing where it's like SEO, PPC, stuff like that is where it's going to be that type of marketing. They're going to be calling right off of that. Can you explain the mentality of why it's important to pick that phone up on the dot? Typically you'd be thinking like, well, they're shopping at that point because they're motivated. They're looking for a solution actively for the answer to their question. Is that one of the biggest reasons why?
Yeah, you got to imagine their house is on fire and you have the water, right? They're looking for somebody that has the water. And so the craziest thing is most of these leads come on our phone, are people looking on their phone. It's like 80% mobile, right? 20% on some sort of laptop or desktop or whatever it is. And all of your competitors are one back click away.
Yep.
All of them.
Yep.
All the top people are just, bloop, okay. Like, I'll give you an example. Today, I'm putting in a new Tesla charger into my cabin in Flagstaff, Arizona, and I called like 4 electricians. No answer. The one that answered is the one that, I'm set up with the appointment. I just went down the line. I'm not waiting for this. I got like 20 minutes in between my show on YouTube and this conversation that we're having, and I'm trying to figure this all out. And so I was motivated to set something up quickly. That's what people are going through, especially with digital marketing leads, which, by the way, Josh, are the top of the pyramid when it comes to quality leads. Besides referrals, which you're just the master of building a brand and getting the referral base and getting people to reach out. I would say referrals are just in a league of their own. But for strangers, for like just cold, never talked to these people before, pay-per-click leads are the best of the best because they're intent-based, right?
Yeah.
They're intent-based, or SEO, whatever you want to, either one. If they go onto your website and they fill out a form, 1, they've already made the decision. 2, we have found instead of 70 days of lead follow-up, it's 2 days.
Yeah.
2 days. And mostly we're setting an appointment and locking it up on day 1. We're going out there as soon as possible. So there's a lot more discipline and a lot more, you have to cover a lot more of your schedule when you get inbound leads, but you need way less leads. They're way faster. Your money cycle of money in, money out is way faster, which means you can invest more, which means that you can grow more, which means that you can build these, $200, $300, $500 million a month businesses. But it all is from inbound. It's not from outbound.
No, I know. I'm sure there's somebody that's listening to this and asking questions like, yeah, Brent, that sounds amazing. That sounds like I would much rather talk to less people, have higher quality leads, even if that's going to cost me more. Like, I don't care. That's what I want. Do you, when you're approaching the standpoint of making the transition, are you completely shutting off the other side of the faucet, or do you have both inbound and outbound still running at the same time? Because if one falters and maybe something changes, then the other one is still working. Like, what's the balancing act between the two of them if you're going to do both? It's a
beautiful transition, and that takes us to stage 4. I mean, you're walking me through this, John. I mean, you're the best host. This is beautiful. So you're in that third stage is you start to get the inbound, but you still need to do what's working. You still need to get your income coming in from what you've already established, those deep grooves that you have in your marketing channels. And so, but then in the 4th stage, you're getting to exclusively inbound leads, and it's a transition. That's the big transition from the 3rd stage to the 4th. Is you're just getting inbound, and you're just you have all the staff and all the processes in place to be able to take just the inbound leads. And typically, you're not going to see a tremendous amount of big cold calling teams or texting or some of these things. You'll see some outbound lead generation pop in and out of our industry, but they're like the fireworks, right? They're the mass text blasting, right? Or the mass voicemail drops, or the some people got really good at sending out email blasts, but all of those get like filtered down and really condensed down so that you can't do them on a massive level,
right,
at some point. But there's technologies are always, finding interesting new ways to communicate with property owners. But I'm looking at it, Josh, from the standpoint of I want to build pillar lead generation sources that are going to last the next 20 years. You know what I mean?
Of course.
And so a lot of that is just the traditional marketing of now pay-per-click, Facebook, or Meta. It could be Instagram, the TV, maybe some radio, some of those things.
Yeah, and the way I look at it too, which I know that you highly value this as well, is the inbound marketing side of things builds brand. It builds reputation within and authority within the marketplace in which you're operating. Whereas the outbound, like you obviously, like, it's a big deal to lock up deals with text blasting and cold calls and ringless voicemails and all that. You will get, like, if you're working on this 2 years ago, you're getting deals. However, it's very hard to build any kind of reputation and you said it yourself. The referrals is the peer, like that's the top. That's like a whole nother league.
The top.
And you can't really necessarily get referrals off of the outbound marketing, or it's a lot more difficult because you're just hitting that lead multiple.
It's very transactional.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly. So I want to go into that if you don't mind. If it's because I've met people that take referral marketing seriously. They try their best to get referrals and everybody looks at referrals the same way. Even if you're not a real estate, if you're a service provider like myself, like referrals are still the pinnacle of leads. In your world, in the way that you're operating marketing, what's some of the best ways to generate referrals and keep that faucet turned on to keep coming in?
Close deals, be loud, and respond to text messages as fast as possible.
Mm-hmm.
I answer your phone. I mean, it is shocking. It is shocking the amount of people that don't respond to text messages or respond to them quickly. You know what I mean? I mean, somebody could literally say, like, I've got somebody that wants you to buy their house. And people will take a day to respond. Like, what are we talking about here? Yeah. You know what I mean? So you spend all this time building a reputation that I'm a cash buyer, I'm a cash buyer, I'm a cash buyer. And then somebody reaches out to you and you don't respond. So number one, I really think as people are starting out, you need to go, first of all, you be on Facebook, obviously. Mm-hmm. Be on Facebook. Go in and go to the groups in the markets that you're in, the real estate groups. You could just type in real estate Phoenix, real estate Memphis, real estate Orlando, whatever, and look at all those groups. And I would friend request everybody in there. Everybody. Friend request everybody. Realtors, investors, title companies, friend request everybody until you get to 5,000 people. And then every single day, post to your stories anything. You could take a picture of a dog. You could take a picture of a ladder. You could take a picture of a house, whatever it is, and just say, I buy houses, and put your phone number. And people will see that every single day, and they're like, huh, maybe it's your aunt. Maybe it's your somebody you went to high school with. Maybe it's somebody that you used to work with. Maybe it's an agent that just ran across this terrible property. They want to get both sides of the deal, and they're like, oh my gosh, here's a buyer for this deal. And then all of a sudden, you're being really loud. You're not being all silent about it. And a lot of people have a problem with this. A lot of people have a huge problem with this because they feel like there's imposter syndrome, right? They feel like, well, I haven't really bought houses. I'm just getting started. Who cares?
Yeah.
You buy houses. The beautiful thing is there's things called transactional funding that'll give you 100% of the purchase price for good deals in real estate. So you have millions of dollars. So go confidently, post every single day that you buy houses, and that's going to start building up your referral and your network database.
Yeah, that's awesome. Interrupting this podcast episode to tell you guys that this podcast is managed and produced by Color Media Productions. Yes, shameless plug, that's my company. However, we do this for a lot of other people as well. Most people that we work with are in the real estate investing space. So if you're listening to this podcast specifically, you probably are a real estate investor, given it's called the REI Marketing Weekly. If you're somebody that either wants to start a podcast or you have one going and it's becoming a little bit of a hassle, you're looking to transition to somebody that works a little bit better with a fluid motion in terms of you get the recordings done and then they do everything else. Well, that's what we do. We do fully managed podcasts from start to finish, video, audio, show noting, the graphics, publishing, everything that goes into it. It's a full service business that we run here in a service for you as a real estate investor if you are running a podcast. Additionally, we also do social media and YouTube management as well. So all of that being on the organic side, if you are interested in learning more about working with us and just recording content with guidance and strategy set by myself personally, and then not doing anything else after that, where we're taking care of everything from start to finish, then make sure you go check us out at colormedia.com, CULLER media.com. Hit us up there and we can learn more about working together, hop on a phone call and see what we could do for you. Now back to the episode. Glad you kind of opened that up. I think that, again, guys, like we got to put a staple in this is like referral marketing is something where you want to get to the ultimate. That's the utopia of marketing. It's really what it is.
It is.
When it comes down to it. It's easy. It's free marketing. And a lot of times too, Brent, like you mentioned, answer the phone and close deals. Ultimately, in business in general, not just in real estate, and maybe you agree with this, is that some of the best ways to acquire referrals is to just deliver on the service, give the best service that you possibly can. If I'm a service provider, or maybe I sell a product, if I sell water bottles, like sell the best damn water bottle that I can sell, and that will create referrals. Like you had a Stanley on your desk earlier, I think, and look how viral that went. It's absurd. Like everybody has Stanleys, and it's because they ultimately delivered, whether you think it's a super high quality product or not, they did that, and they were listening to their demographics and who was buying it to innovate the product, make it better, and then it just blew up. So just ultimately doing what you're supposed to do it to the highest quality, and then you said it multiple times, is communicate.
But also, listen, the cherry on top of that is have enthusiasm about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Be excited about what you're doing. You need to get your enthusiasm to an 8 out of 10 minimum every single day. You know what I mean? When people are like sending you referrals, and you're like, oh, is it a good area? What's the price that they want? What's you're doing all this stuff. You're done. You're done. Get out of the business. Stop. You're not going to make it, right? Unless you spend a tremendous amount of money on marketing and have somebody else that has a good personality. But bring your enthusiasm to a level 8, and the best way to do that is fall in love with this. Yeah. Fall in love with the process. Fall in love with the business. If you don't, it's going to be really, really difficult. And so just be around really positive, optimistic people all the time, and respond quickly when people send you business, and be really, really, really excited about it and enthusiastic, and make it as easy for people to send you opportunities as possible, for sure.
Of course. I love that. That's awesome. That's a really good nugget for people to take away that doesn't get said enough, I think, Brent.
Well, John, it's like people are just like, oh, okay, well, what's it?
No.
Don't even, or they'll respond, thanks.
Yeah, right.
Pick up the phone. Oh my gosh. This is incredible. I am telling you, I got licensed in 2004. Mm-hmm. And so I've been in a lot of real estate brokerages. I've been around a lot of investors. I've been to a lot of meetups. I've been to and I am telling you, the people that have enthusiasm always beat out the smarter person. Mm. And I say, listen, the dumbest people make the most money. And I don't mean like their IQ is low. I just mean they don't overthink it. They just take massive imperfect action all the time with enthusiasm and positivity, and they always rise to the top. It doesn't matter if it's a good market, a bad market, a flat market. It doesn't matter. They're always going to win. And so, if I can impart that into the audience on this, that is a huge factor that really matters.
That's awesome. Dude, yes, great nugget and a really good piece of information for people to take away. Doesn't matter what level you're at. I feel like too, Brent, a lot of people that have been in business for a long time, if you start to see a market shift, then that can drop your enthusiasm. And obviously the point is to wake up and start the day over again, start enthusiastically and get back into the grind and do what you're supposed to do. So it's good. So I want to utilize the last portion of this show to, you've been in this space for a really long time. You've collaborated with some of the top dogs in this industry in the world, some of the coolest people in the world. But you've also run a highly successful real estate business in one of the toughest markets in the world and one of the most competitive markets in the world. You've done lots of different types of marketing. You've talked about lots of different types of marketing over the past year. Let's just say, we call it last July.
Yeah.
What has changed in your marketing that maybe you were doing a year ago that you're not doing today, or maybe vice versa, or maybe have made big adjustments on? Maybe it's still the same tactic, but you made a big adjustment on. What are some things that you've changed in the last year or so?
I stole one of the top guys at Google Ads and brought him into my office, and he runs my pay-per-click. And he runs, and we offer to some of the other people that we know that are really good and at that point where they have a good budget for pay-per-click. But that's been huge, because he was able to look at the back end of everybody's websites and look at, okay, where are people, what landing pages are working the best, what verbiage is working the best, what AdWords are working the best, how to bid, make sure that the bidding strategy is really strong. And that has been awesome. We screwed it up for the first 6 months. And that's why I'm saying, I'm not just saying, I'm up here, pontificating on some theory that I have about why 80 to 90% people slide back into self-employed. We were doing amazing. And I built my whole business. Listen, just 2011, I had a 400 credit score. I had 5 foreclosures. I had 2 cars repoed. I had a $740,000 personal guarantee judgment against me. And I'm like, 31 years old, right? And this was all stuff that happened in my early 20s. And so I had to claw my way out by door knocking and cold calling and doing all that. I've door knocked 15,000 doors. I've talked to 45,000 property owners. That's how I got out of that position and really started building momentum. So my whole background is very proactive, very grind, very, be in a hustle season for as long as it takes. And that was the mentality of my company. And so we did a tremendous amount of lead follow-up. We did a tremendous amount of cold calling and text message marketing. And when we made that transition into pay-per-click, the leads were coming in, but we weren't as fast. We didn't understand the schedule of it. We were just like kind of getting to it when we could. We thought within an hour was good enough. And so we were getting crushed. We were getting absolutely crushed. Once we started making the tweaks that I talked about on this podcast, the whole business totally exploded. We went from 2 on our return on investment to close to 5. Yeah. And if you get a 5%, if you talk to the real big guys three times when you're spending big budgets of, call it 100 or 200,000 or more, is a really nice return, a 3 times return. We're getting a 5 times return but because 1, the leads are great, and 2, we've got our processes dialed in and the personnel dialed in to be able to handle that.
Yeah. And this is where the crossover, like I talk about this every once in a while, and we've had a couple of people on here that are doing their own, PPC and SEO well. And one of the conversations that always comes up, which we've already talked about, but I want to just really imprint this on everybody's mind, is that's sort of the timeline, the crossover between marketing and sales, because obviously the marketing does a job of bringing that, lead to your door, but then the salesperson has to open the door and say hello and answer the call, essentially, right?
And that's the transition. You're
right.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
That's the transition that I talked to Robert Wensley from Investor Lift, right?
Wow.
And we had this real deep conversation about the biggest companies. And he says the biggest companies have figured this out. Everybody thinks as you're growing that you're a marketing company. You're a marketing company. You find these deals. You sell these deals. Some people do some flips, but most flippers aren't finding the deals. It's us wholesalers that are going out there. Right. And so we're the marketing engines. We're like, oh, we're the marketers. We're the marketers. We're the marketers. But truly, once you get to the point where you can hire somebody to do the pay-per-click, to do the social media, to do these things, people that really understand how to do it. They're very versed. They've been doing it for years and years and years, have gone through all the fires, gone through all the mistakes, and you're just taking leads and doing sales and converting. He goes, that's the biggest difference between the people that net the most and make ridiculous money and the ones that don't, is people try to fall in love with, I'm going to be the best marketer. And the marketing should be taken care of by experts. And the sales, you put more emphasis on the sales. And that's a much different business than you have from stage 1, 2, and even 3. When you're in that 4th one, you've got everything running for you. You're just getting the leads in, closing them, and moving on. And that was a huge shift for me. Was just, okay, I totally understand. Now I've got them in-house, but I've got Jesse and John and Nate now, who are my PPC experts in-house, because we're helping other people do their pay-per-click as an agency. Mm-hmm. But if not, I would have just hired one of the companies that does a great job, get the leads coming in and just close them and move on.
Yeah, for sure.
I wouldn't have figured out PPC by myself. There's no way I would figure out PPC by myself. It takes years and it changes every week. Right. Every week Google's messing with these guys. Yep. You know what I mean? And so You need somebody that just loves it, speaks the language, and really wants to make it successful. So
truly an expert in their field, right? Like,
yeah.
and that quality of that lead that they ultimately can craft and bring in is the contributor to your success as a real estate investing business or not. Because if they're bringing garbage to your door, then it's like, it doesn't matter how good your sales are. You're not how good your sales team is. Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If that lead is trash, you want quality leads. One last question before we hang up here. This is something I'm highly interested in. I know a lot of people that listen to this show like to hear about numbers and what people are tracking on a consistent basis. So if you don't mind sharing, even if it's just high level stuff from your PPC that you run in-house, and maybe you know the answer to this or not, but what are some of the high level numbers and KPIs that you guys are tracking to make sure that, hey, this is either not working or it is working?
Well, here's the thing. There's two. I'll tell you mine, and then I'll go into the two differences. So for us, from a wholesale standpoint, we are usually it's about right now it's about 1 in 15 leads to 19 leads. It depends. It keeps fluctuating, and I'm not sure why, but it's not a huge percentage. Let's just call it 19. 1 in 19 leads we close. The closings we make $25,000, right? And for that it costs us about $5,000 a deal. Okay, so it's right there. It's right around. It's like $49.90 or something like that.
Yeah.
And so and that's in Maricopa County, Phoenix, Arizona. Competitive, but whatever. I mean, your skills is what's gonna win there.
Of course.
So what we look at, number one is what's our contact rate? Like when those leads come in, how many of those are we getting in contact with? And it's 93% because we get to them in the first 30 seconds.
Wow. 93%.
And then the other thing here is if you're going to stay, and this is the if you're looking at two different models, is the model of do pay-per-click, do it in a bunch of different markets, do it virtual, and just do it that way. Go deep with your marketing and wide with the amount of markets. And then there's go really, really, really deep in your own market with several marketing channels.
Right.
And so that's what we're doing right now. We're bringing TV on. We brought an expert in that's going to be absolutely phenomenal. We're going to add direct mail at some point, and that all feeds to the website, really.
Right.
And so people just
building brand.
Yeah. People have to decide, which way they want to go with that. But if you're doing it, here's the point I was trying to make. I grabbed the thread again. If you're staying in just one market, doing a bunch of marketing channels, you need to have real estate agents on your team taking those retail leads. You need to be able to do novations. You got to be able to take some properties down, maybe do a few flips a year, and you got to be really, really good with your cash buyer database to be able to wholesale. So you need to do all four of them, as opposed to if you're going nationwide, just stick to one exit strategy.
Yeah.
And you'll be really, really, really strong.
Dude, you explained that in that 2 minutes that you did is probably the best explanation, most thorough explanation I've heard from anybody that's been able to spend a full hour on it. So awesome. That was extremely helpful. It makes a lot of sense for a lot of people. And I think that alone can clear up so much fogginess in people's mind about how they're going to shift and innovate their business. And are we going to go deep into our own market, or are we going to go wide, geographically? And there's a lot of people that are making that decision right now.
Well, listen, you get a investor lift account, you go nationwide. So you got your cash buyers, you go nationwide. It's going to make your costs go down, for your ROI go up when it comes to pay-per-click for sure. But there's a learning curve. There's going to be a 4 to 6 month learning curve of who's the best escrow officers and closing attorneys, who are the best private money lenders in those areas, who are the best cash buyers in those areas. Are your comps solid? You know what I mean? So there is a learning curve when you get into other markets, that even though you do have the best resources and at hand, you just don't know the market until you get reps, until you take swings at the plate.
Yeah, absolutely. Brent, this has been absolutely outstanding. So much good content here. I want to give you the opportunity. I'm going to be mentioning it in the intro as well, but if somebody wanted to connect you, obviously, like Brent puts out a ton of content, so make sure you go follow him on all platforms. We'll have all that linked down in the show notes. Brent, something that you're working on right now that you want people to go take advantage of that you can offer to them. What's the best way?
Listen, the YouTube channel, we put a lot of love and attention there. We go live. I go live on Mondays with Pace Morby, Jerry Norton, Jamil Damji every Monday. And then Wednesday, I go live for over 2 hours, bring the top guests around from the country, have you on here, hopefully in the next month or so. That'd be awesome. And we just put a lot of attention into instruction, right? Anytime that you're listening to a podcast, anytime that you're watching somebody on stage or you're at a seminar or you're listening or watching a YouTube, you need to filter it based on, is this entertainment, education, or instruction, right? That's just what you have to do. And me personally, I always get pulled more to the instruction. Just tell me what to do. Because I'm going to go out and take the action. I get it. There's inspirational stories and there's certain times that you're just like, wow, I needed to hear that and all this. That's great, but that's not going to get you paid. You know what I mean? That's not going to get you paid. In education, it's like glue. I mean, it is something that's going to just keep you stuck to not taking any action because you want to learn more and learn more. You're going to learn more by doing it. You're going to learn more again by massive imperfect action and progress, not perfection, for sure.
Absolutely. And then lastly, I know you have, so Brent is the man behind Wholesaling Inc. Do you want to talk about that at all and joining the Rhino crew and all that?
Rhino Tribe. Yeah, guys, go to wholesalinginc.com, apply. If some synapses, something going on in your brain, listening to me and you want to get into our world and be around the top performing wholesalers in the country, and you're just getting started and or want to scale, but we really do a great job with the people getting started, then apply. I'd love to work with you personally. Everybody gets my phone number. Everybody gets access to my team. I literally show you my books, like, of what we're doing and how much we're spending and all that. So it's very transparent and a lot of fun and a lot of heart. So check it out.
Good stuff. We'll have all that linked below for you guys, so make sure you do take advantage of that. Brent, I can't thank you enough for spending the 30-plus minutes with us today, and I look forward to having you back again soon.
Go Bulls.
All right, go Bulls. Yes, sir. All right, guys, that's going to do it for today's episode. Make sure, if you haven't already, you have subscribed to the show. Make sure you do. Once again, check out all the links down in the show notes below to connect with Brent and join the Rhino Tribe. Thank you for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one. See ya.